FanDuel came out with their odds for the 2025 national championship, the one that'll follow the 24 season. And there's a lot of talk about what Florida State will be, what they won't be. I literally just got a tweet at me while we were on the show that we won't win 8 games with DJ Uiagalelei, who we haven't talked about on this show, but we will right after this. Who and what the Noles will be this year. But FanDuel has Florida State with the 8th best odds to win the national championship, meaning in FanDuel's eyes, Florida State is in the playoff next year as a 12-team playoff, or at least likely to make the playoff. Obviously, if they win the ACC, they can do that. It's really early, Richie. It is January. We've got a lot of months to go until we're throwing back Guinnesses over in Ireland. But does that seem high to you? Does that seem low to you? What are your thoughts on that? At Florida State coming in like 8th. The usual suspects ahead of Florida State. I'll run down them real quick. No other rivals, no one else in the ACC. Obviously, Georgia, Alabama, your top 2 in that. Right behind it, Ohio State, Texas, Michigan, Oregon, LSU. They don't learn their lesson putting LSU ahead of us, Richie. But anyway, we got Florida State at 8th, and then those other teams that we mentioned, 1 through 7. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we're probably a little high right now because, going back to our first segment, I think we still have a lot of question marks at linebacker. Defensive end, I think, will be okay this year, so not so much there. I like what we have. I like the roster. Top 15, I'm all on board with. Top 8, that might be a stretch for me, but maybe they know something that we don't know that's coming up in the portal here soon. I think Florida State is going to be just fine. I think, going out to Ireland, I'm extremely excited. I think I saw one line that had Florida State 4.5 against Georgia Tech. I would bet a lot of money on that if I could get it.
Before you leave the States, because your Hard Rock app isn't going to work over there.
Yeah.
So before you leave the States.
Oh, shout out the Hard Rock app. I did catch in. I took the Bucks 4.5 today, and it was ugly, but they got it done. But yeah, it's the teams you would expect ahead of us. And, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas. I think Texas is going to fall off. I really do. Michigan might as well, and even Oregon without Bo Nix. And LSU, you just can't trust them. Like, who ahead of us outside of Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State do you say absolutely 100% they're going to be better than us next year? Nobody, in my opinion. I'm not saying we have the 4th best odds because I don't think we do. I think we still have some things to figure out. But I'm excited heading into the season because I do think 2024 Florida State is a college football playoff contender, being a 12-team playoff.
Yeah, I think so too. When you look at the AC, I'll tell you, as much as we hate this conference, I'll tell you this with as much as you're losing to graduation and eligibility in the NFL, this is a good year to be in the ACC. There's no such thing as a good year to be in the ACC. This is a not as bad year to be in the ACC.
Yeah.
When you look at Florida State's schedule, I think the schedule sets up fairly nicely. You look at teams that you should beat. You should beat because you're Florida State and you're just more talented. Now that you have DJU, which we'll talk about in just a moment, you should beat. I'll run down the schedule. You should beat Georgia Tech. You should beat Memphis. You should beat Charleston Southern. You should beat Duke. That's 4 wins. You should beat Boston College. That's 5 wins. You should beat Cal. That's 6 wins. You should beat SMU. That's 7 wins. You should beat North Carolina at home. I don't think they're returning quite as good of a team as they were last year. That's 8 wins. To me, any one of those losses, not that you can't lose to any one of those teams, you should not lose to any of those 8 games. And that's just, this is January. This is early. We're not doing a schedule preview. But this is Florida State, and you're not losing any of those 8 games. And if you do, it's a problem to me. And then you got basically you win those 8, and you got a 4-game season. You got Miami, Florida, Clemson, and Notre Dame.
And you're better than all of them.
Yeah, you're more talented.
Notre Dame's the one team that would be the toughest in my opinion because I think Marcus Freeman, I think he's got something serious going on in South Bend.
You go 10-2, and as long as your 2 losses aren't in the ACC, you go 10-2, right? Like let's say you lose to Clemson or Miami, so you got 1 ACC loss, and then you split with Florida and Notre Dame, right? However, right? So you go 2-2 in that. And if you're 2-2, you're going to Charlotte because you only have 1 ACC loss.
Win that, you're in the playoff.
And you win that, you're in. So now could Florida State go 8-4 this year? Absolutely. Could they? To me, the floor is like 7-5, 8-4, somewhere in there. The ceiling to me is like 10-2, 11-1.
12-0. If
I
we're
don't know.
talking ceilings.
Yeah, I mean, tough for me to predict 12-0 this early.
Well, not going to
But yeah, if
predict
you
it.
throw
No,
the
no,
linebacker room
no. I'm not
a little
predicting it.
bit,
So I don't want to get clipped here. But the
yeah.
ceiling, they could definitely go.
Yeah.
There's no auto losses on the schedule next year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Notre Dame games, Notre Dame or Clemson at home, like, Notre Dame on the road, Clemson at home, probably your toughest two. I think Miami's going to be tough. Their trenches are really good, but if they don't find a quarterback, then you probably find a way to win that too. Just
Talk
kind
about
of keep your
striking out in
fingers
the
crossed that
portal.
they don't find one. And I'm good with Baby Tua going there because I don't think he's very good. So but yeah, I think, I mean, you need to go 10-2. To me, like, this is a 10-2 type schedule. You need to win 8 of your games, and then you need to go 2-2 in the other 2. And if you can do a little bit better, if you can go 3-1 or you can 4-0, then great. That it's hard to go back-to-back undefeated seasons. You saw how hard that was for Jameis his second year too. It's very difficult to do that. And so nobody's going to give this team any slack if they go 10-2. Honestly, if they go 9-3, I'm not like jumping off the skyway or anything like that either. But you go 10-2 and you go to Charlotte, you're playing for the playoff, right? They can't screw you out of it. They can't keep you out because of anything else. You're playing for the playoff at that point. And it might be a rematch with Clemson like we thought we were going to get this year. It might be NC State, who I think is going to be really good and has a really easy ACC schedule too. But you go to 10-2, you get to Charlotte, you're playing for the playoff. And when you look at that, when you look at other teams, why I think Florida State's so highly ranked in this conversation, these FanDuel odds, I think they have one of the easiest paths to get to the playoff. Because like I just said, their schedule's not incredibly tough. They are more talented than 8 or 9 of the teams that they play. So they're going to be a favorite like 9 or 10 times that they play this year. And so when you consider all of that, and you consider all they got to do is go 10-2, get to Charlotte, they're in. I mean, in theory, you can go 9-3, get to Charlotte, win, and you're in, as long as you can get to Charlotte with that record. But I think the Noles have a really good chance to do it. And I think 8th is about right when you consider that. I don't know that I would say the Noles are the 8th best team in the country. I don't know that I would go that far. No. But I do think when you kind of consider what it will take to get to the playoff, the Noles could get there a little easier than most places. So,
and TJ, it is a shame, an absolute shame that Will Shipley has declared for the NFL draft. Thank goodness.
Best news of the year. No, I don't believe we'll be okay. So tell me if I'm wrong on this. Aren't there auto bids? Like
I think there's 5, the 5 Power 5 leagues, which is weird because the Pac-12 still get one, and then the highest group of 5, and then 6 at-large bids is what I believe it is. But I don't know what they're going to do with the Pac-12. Like, is it one of the 2 teams that's left? If they go like 7-5, do they just get in just because? But I'm pretty sure every conference champ gets in next year.
Yeah, they do. They do. But do they get a specific spot, or are they just in and then they seed them?
I don't know. I think they're in and then they seed them. It would make more sense to put them in and then seed them from there. Like, it'd be ridiculous if like a 6-6 Cal team got in as the 5 seed. I don't know. We'll see what happens. College football is just ridiculous.
Quite as ridiculous as leaving out an undefeated Power 5 champ, but still ridiculous nonetheless. All right.